Hi there, welcome to What is Happening in Brazil. Let's start the show with the latest news from the country.
On February 1st, the election for the next president of the Federal House of Representatives and Senate took place. In both chambers, candidates backed by President Jair Bolsonaro were elected. Arthur Lira in the House of Representatives and Rodrigo Pacheco in the Senate. With these results, the possibility of an impeachment request against the president moving forward becomes more remote. According to Brazilian law, it is the President of the House of Representatives that decides whether or not to allow for the start of impeachment proceedings. Currently, there are more than 60 requests to remove Bolsonaro from office. Shortly before the congressional elections, the federal government released around 3 billion reais, equivalent to more than $500 million, for projects pursued by allied parliamentarians. The opposition saw the measure as vote buying. The KALUNGA Territory, located in the state of Goiás, was recognized by the UN Environmental Program as a TICA, which stands for Territories and Areas Conserved by Indigenous and Local Communities. This is the first of such titles to be bestowed in Brazil. The KALUNGA Territory was created roughly 300 years ago by slaves that rebelled and ran away seeking freedom. It is comprised of 39 communities where till this day traditional agriculture is practiced, without the use of any pesticides, chemical fertilizers, nor agricultural machinery. The territory spans an area of 261,000 hectares between the municipalities of Cavalcante, Teresina de Goiás, and Monte Alegre. The recognition by the UN highlights the importance of the Kalunga people in the preservation of the Cerrado, a semi-arid highland ecosystem native to the region.
In the state of Goiás, families of farmers were struck by a rain of pesticides dispersed by airplanes. Now the Pastoral Land Commission, an entity that defends rural workers, is trying to report the situation to authorities.
Banned in every European Union country, the spraying of pesticides by airplanes has been infecting dozens of springs and plantations in 3 cities located in the state of Goiás. The tip-off comes from the Pastoral Land Commission, which put together reports from people living in the Bela Vista da Goiás, Caiapônia, and Santa Helena regions.
Vai passar em cima de nós, meu Jesus amado.
Residents of an MST encampment had to seek medical assistance after being exposed to a cloud of pesticides. The poison known as permethrin may cause neurological problems and is banned in the European Union. According to the manufacturer's own guidelines, the product should not be applied by air. Those in the camp are living on a farm that belongs to a bankrupt sugar and alcohol conglomerate. The spraying of the poison may have been done by farmers who seized part of the land.
There were situations in which they neglected the legislation itself. They didn't pay attention to the question of the wind, the minimum distance from residential areas. They didn't even pay attention to the way the poison was being applied. In other words, another disrespect.
Another immediate effect of spraying was the death of bees. According to one estimate, 1,800,000 insects died due to the poison.
Aqui é perceptível como a abelha ela foi envenenada, tentou chegar na colmeia e não conseguiu. Ela ficou na cobertura da colmeia.
According to Saulo Reis, it is not uncommon to see irregularities related to the use of pesticides in the region. However, the phenomenon often remains unreported due to the fear of reprisals and violence.
A gente já ouviu muitos relatos de famílias.
We've heard families telling us similar things many times, but people are very scared to report the issue since they are dealing with large-scale farmers who wield political influence and a strong economic one. In fear of reprisals, families prefer not to say anything, afraid that things will get worse.
The Goiás Pastoral Land Commission forwarded the reports to authorities and awaits an investigation of the case.
Iemanjá is a deity in Afro-Brazilian religions that is celebrated every February 2nd. Linked to water, maternity, and female fertility, the Orisha became an important figure in the country's cultural identity. Today, researchers try to rescue her historical origins.
Iemanjá remained living in the seas, rivers, and lakes, seated on a throne of scales, conchs, and starfish. On the day of her celebration, devotees offer her lots of food, drink flowers, perfume, necklaces, combs, decorations. For more than a goddess, she's a woman caring for her looks and vain.
Marlene Crespo is an artist, illustrator, and author of the book Iemanjá, Goddess of the Ocean. The book tells the story of Marina, daughter to fishermen and great-granddaughter of slaves, who learns about Iemanjã's story and gets in touch with the ancestral African kings and queens who came to Brazil.
Nesse livro,
This book is part of the research I did about how the myth of Iemanjá was created in Brazil, which is a popular myth. I like to research stories like this. It's very good for me. It means assimilating and getting closer to our culture and all the truths of our traditions.
essa cultura.
The story of Iemanjá is one of the most traditional and emblematic in Brazilian culture. The deity assimilates different racial and cultural roots within her.
Uma construção que vai juntar todas as
It's a
crenças.
construct that unites all the beliefs of the Brazilian people. We see Yara in Amazonian mythology. We go back to Greek mythology that has mermaids. We also have Iemanjá from the Africa tradition. They are sacred feminine elements that come from water, and the spirituality of the masses constructs a Iemanjá as a representation. This Iemanjá is part of the spirituality of the masses.
Though bona fide as the main face of Brazilian racial mixing and syncretism, the researcher highlights the importance of the discussion that seeks to re-Africanize the Orixá.
Então, quando
When you have the
você
discussion, is Iemanjá black? The Orixá Iemanjá is black. The Iemanjá from the Brazilian people's imagination is a white woman with long hair dressed in blue. These discussions are being demanded by a people that seeks to resist through its traditions.
Within the context of intolerance against religions of African roots, books like Iemanjá, Goddess of the Ocean, make clear the path to more respect and conscientiousness in regards to religious diversity.
ensinar sobre essas
We need to teach
mitologias,
children that it's wrong to demonize the belief of others. When you begin teaching kids that this is not supposed to happen, we will have better adults who respect each other. I think having access to African history is really important, and no better way to do this than in a fun way like through telling the story of the Iemanjá, who is the Great Mother.
And now it's time for Brazilianism.
Today we are going to make beef bourguignon using goat meat. For this recipe we'll use the goat shank. It's already been deboned, cleaned and cut. Let's begin by making the marinade and letting it rest for at least 4 hours. I'll add 3 garlic cloves, 2 bay leaves, thyme, rosemary and ground black pepper, and the dry red wine. We remove the leaves from the celery and chop it. We're going to peel the carrot. The skin will also be used in our broth. We then cut it into semicircles, not too thin. We'll cut the mushrooms in half. This recipe uses a different type of meat. Generally, bacon is used. Here the meat is already marinated. Let's drain this wine and use it later. Let's add salt to the meat and seal it. Here the meat is already sealed and the bacon's been cooked with the onion. The pan has a tasty flavored crust, which is what we want. Let's put the bacon back in the pot, the carrots and celery going now. Now we are going to deglaze it to remove the crust from the pan with the wine from the marinade and add the meat too. Let's add the tomato pulp and after that the hot water and let's leave it stewing. Here we're almost done, so I'll add the mushrooms. And here we have the vegetable broth. I'll season it with salt and pepper. Then I add the corn flour really slowly.
Liked the show? So hit the like button and share with your friends. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications. We'll see you next week.